Good Friday morning, everybody. Today's episode has to do with the letter R. This is The Motivated Medic. This is not Sesame Street. You're going to enjoy this, so stay tuned. So yes, I've gone a little Sesame Street on y'all. And no, we're not going to be learning how to spell. But as I was going through some things of what I wanted to talk about in today's episode, I came across basically a lot of words that had to do with R. So I'm like, all right, we'll do a podcast on the letter R. So these are things that are all for, all to help you with the current situation, the current crisis, the coronavirus. And whatever capacity it is hitting you, whether you are a paramedic on the street and you're getting these calls and you're taking care of these patients, or you're a nurse in the ER and you're seeing these patients come through the doors and you're not seeing the testing. So, and I think this is giving people in the hospital a taste of EMS without even realizing it. And this is why. So in EMS, emergency medical services, EMTs, paramedics, critical care paramedics, we pick up patients and we bring them to the hospital. Now, if you have a hospital that has a really good follow-up liaison or follow-up individual, then this may not be you. But a lot of times in EMS, we pick up a patient, we'll drop them off at the ER, and I'd say a good half the time, if not more, we don't really know what happens to that patient. If you have friends in the ER, you go there later on your shift and you're able to find out a little bit more maybe. But typically, if it's a really sick patient, they go to the ICU, you don't get to see what happens. You don't get to hear what happens. You don't get to see the results or find out what the diagnosis was. In the hospital, to a point, you guys are seeing the same thing with the coronavirus in the sense of testing. Right? We don't have a test that's immediate. You have a patient that has symptoms, you send the test out, and you wait for days and days and days. So that's kind of that feeling of, well, are they positive? It's kind of like with, somebody brings a patient to the ER. Well, what's wrong with them? Was it a heart attack? Did they make it through the cath lab? So that anticipation of what's going on is there, and that can cause a lot of anxiety for you. It can cause a lot of what ifs. Did I do my job right? So it can create a real stressful environment, much more so than what you're normally used to. Another aspect of this is the fact that you're doing things in the hospital that a lot of times you don't have to do, as far as decon and things of that nature. We do that a lot more in EMS. We have kind of that sense in EMS to where you have a patient that is either really, really nasty and or really bloody, and we're having to decon our equipment, decon our space, or we have a patient that's suspected TB, or somebody that has a potential airborne problem, airborne disease, what have you, and we're having to make sure that we protect ourselves. So you're seeing things in the hospital that on the pre-hospital side we've seen more and more. Now, is that to say that you guys don't see airborne stuff in the hospital at all before this coronavirus? Absolutely not. That's why you have negative pressure rooms and isolation rooms and a decon room or rooms in your emergency department or even your ICU. So, but it's interesting how there has been a shift with what we see, I guess, a little bit more prominently in EMS that you guys are having to deal with in the hospital. And like I said, it's bringing a lot more challenges for all of us that we're not used to. So I want to go over some things to hopefully help with you cope and get through this thing. And the one thing, I was talking to someone yesterday about how, this thing, the coronavirus, this pandemic doesn't have an expiration date, right? This is like you going out on a hike or a run or a bike or a swim, especially for you triathletes out there. This is like going out on a race and you do not have a finish line. Or at least there's a finish line, but you don't know how far ahead of you it is. You don't know if you have the endurance to get through this. You don't know if you are equipped for all of this. You don't know if the people that are running with you, running alongside of you, are going to finish with you. And that instills a lot of fear. At least it can. So let me go over some things that start with the letter R. And no, like I said, this is not Sesame Street, but it was just some things that I thought of. So the first and foremost of these things is you need to be able to rest. Rest is essential. Even if you are working multiple shifts, you need to find rest. If you're working night shift, you need to make sure that the room that you're sleeping in has blackout curtains, has no noise, no cell phone on. Turn your cell phone off, but even the vibration, turn it off. If you have a smartwatch, take your smartwatch off of your wrist. I know you're trying to track your sleep or whatever, but the fact of the matter is if you have any external things that are distracting you or grabbing your attention, even the smallest bit, you will not be able to rest well. Rest also has to do with not just your physical state, but your mental state and your spiritual state and your emotional state. Let's talk about the mental state. In order to rest mentally, you need to be able to detach and pull away from the situation, from the circumstance. Go out on a walk. If you have a trail that's open near you for hiking or something like that, go out on a hike. I took my family out on a hike this past Monday, and it was raining. There was barely anybody out on the trail. It was really nice. We all had a good time. We were all soaking wet by the end of it, but we all had a blast. We came home, popped in a movie. I made some popcorn, and it was rest that we needed. And as you're doing that rest, as you're doing those actions and getting out and changing your environment a little bit, recall the good times. And I'm not saying, bring up the good times and dwell there and just completely dismiss where we're at. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying live in some kind of euphoric state. I'm saying recall the good times. Recall the times that were good. And recall the times that were bad that you got through. Recall the times that you had to just pull yourself together and get through the situation. Like my podcast that last week that I talked about with refining times, and those times that I had in the ER where I had no idea how I was going to get through it. And that's when I had to detach from the environment, at least mentally and emotionally, and say, okay, this is what I've got in front of me. These are the facts. Like Dave Ramsey talked about last night in his Message of Hope live video. Facts, not fear. Look at the facts. Don't look at the fear of it. Because the fear, you can always find fear in something. You can always find something to fear. But look at the facts. Detach, look at the facts, and what do you need to do? So, as you're resting, recall the good times and recall the times that were really tough that led you into those good times. Because typically, when you have good times, there was a period of time before that wasn't so good. Think about all your very, very successful people. There were times that they had a lot of unsuccessful things happen to them. A lot of failures. A lot of things that went wrong. That helped them get to where it was a good time. In addition to that, if there is something that you are struggling with right now and you have not dealt with it, repent. Look at what you're doing. Look at if it's an addiction, if it's something that maybe you've wronged somebody in some way and you have not gone to that person and sought forgiveness. and recognized that you need to do something to correct this situation, to stop the madness and stop what you're doing, stop in your tracks and say, no more, and I need to repent of this. I need to seek forgiveness in this in order to recover and rest. Because let me tell you, you will not be able to find rest if you are not repentant of something that you've done to somebody else, or maybe yourself. Maybe you haven't forgiven yourself for a failure. Maybe you had a really rough call, and maybe you did something wrong, or maybe you just didn't do the right things. I had that experience recently to where I walked away from a call and I felt like I just didn't do enough. And I had to sit back and I had to forgive myself essentially and say, okay, this is what I did. These are the facts, and I shouldn't be fearful of any kind of retribution or anything. I should say, okay, I do what I need to do, talk to the people I need to talk to, and let them know what happened. And I did. I spoke to my medical director, and he was very informative, and it was a great conversation. I spoke to some other people at my program that I trust that are involved in the situation, and it's just been a great experience. But if you don't give yourself the grace and get down, don't completely ignore, or don't ignore it, period. Don't ignore the situation and the gravity of it. I'm not saying that. If you've done something wrong and you need to correct the situation by admitting what has happened. Don't ignore it. But there's grace there. So repent. Go to the people that need to hear those words, I am sorry. Will you forgive me? And if you're on the other side of it and somebody's wronged you, and I know that doesn't start with the letter R, it's W, but if somebody has done something wrong to you and committed a crime or a grievance or something against you, give them grace. Give them grace. Provide forgiveness. And as you're dealing with this, maybe you're not completely ready for that yet. And that's okay. And let them know that you need some time. But provide grace and forgiveness to them. Don't hold on to this. Don't be revengeful. There's an R word. Don't seek revenge. Have grace, have mercy. So repent. Recover. This is part of the rest side of things. Recover. Recover in eating healthy. Recover in your sleep. Like I said, make sure you're getting sleep. Take melatonin. Melatonin helps with fixing the mitochondria and allowing your body to get the rest it needs. But get rest and recover. Like I said, eat healthy. Physical exercise. Get out. Do something. Work out in your apartment, in your house, in your garage. Clean out your garage. This is a great time to get out and do some things, or stay in and do some things that maybe you have been putting off for a while. You had all these excuses, and now you have all the time in the world. Clean out the garage, clean out your bedroom, clean your closet, clean your bathroom. Do things that will allow you to recover in a healthy way. So eat healthy, get rest, live in a clean environment, and renew your mind. Renew your spirit. That's the next R. Renewal. Listen to music. How many songs were created around the Depression era? How many songs and artists came about during Vietnam from soldiers, from people that were struggling with what was going on? How many songs and artists and inventions came out from these times that were troubling? Renew your mind with music. Listen to songs that are enriching, that are rejuvenating, that set your mind at ease and set your mind in a freeing fashion. Tend to your spirit. Renew your spirit. Open up that Bible that you have that's been covered in dust, or that New Testament that you got when you were in the military, and you're like, I'll never use this thing. Open up a good book that has encouraging words in it. Listen to a Jocko podcast. Let me tell you, the Jocko podcast 221 with Jonathan Kim, who's Navy SEAL, Harvard physician, astronaut. He didn't get to that success without a lot of scars, a lot of pain. And listening to somebody's story like that gives us perspective. It gives us, I guess, a different vantage point of seeing somebody else who struggled so much. I mean, they had a rough life, a rough beginning, and here they are at the height of their career and continuing at that level. So listen to some good podcasts. Stay away from the podcasts and the books and the news media and the TV shows that have a negative tone or some kind of negative theme. I know a lot of us like to watch like drama shows like Jack Ryan and stuff like that, and even those are fun to watch, it can really stress you out. I'll never forget when I watched like the last 3 seasons of 24, all the way to the season finale, and it was a good series. It really was. And I was like, I want to start from the beginning. So I started watching 24 from the beginning. This is years ago, probably 7 years ago or so, and I started to get stressed out just watching the show. I was like, what in the world? Like, I mean, my blood pressure was up. I started to, become a little tachypnic as I'm watching some of these dynamic scenes. So don't watch stuff that's going to cause you to stress out, because you don't need more stress. You need something that's going to help relieve your stress. Okay? So invest in renewing your mind and renewing your spirit. Here's another big thing that starts with the letter R: reconnect. Reconnect with friends, with family, with people that you haven't maybe talked to in a while. Reconnect by writing letters. Wow, what's that? Yes, write letters. Write somebody an email. Write somebody a Facebook message. Write something kind on somebody's Facebook profile on their wall. Write your spouse a letter. Talk to your spouse. Sit down, give the kids a good movie to watch, and go retreat with your spouse somewhere and just have a conversation. Reconnect with the people that love you and that you love, or at least claim to love. Rekindle that fire that maybe you've lost in your marriage, in your relationship. Rekindle the fire and the passion with your loved one, with your significant other. Rekindle the relationship with your kids. How many of you have kids that work has pulled you away, and now either you don't have a lot of shifts? Because I used to work, and I still do, but for right now, I worked PRN in the ER. And because of what's going on, they're not allowing any cross-trained personnel to come into the ER. Part of it is because census is low, so the hours aren't there. So they're trying to make sure that the people that's their full-time job, that they're getting the hours. And I totally get that. And I'm not saying anything negative about their decision to do that. I agree with their decision, because they need to take care of the people that are assigned to that cost center, those departments. So I get it, and I agree with their actions. And so what that's done is that's freed up time on my end, so I can invest more in the Spartan Wellness Group, in the Motivated Medic, and other things that I've been kind of trying to work on more and more. More importantly than the Motivated Medic and the Spartan Wellness Group is my family. And I need to reconnect with my family in ways that I haven't been able to because I've been busy working. So reconnect with the people that really matter. I mean, these people matter. Your family matters. Your friends matter. Reconnect with them. And I know we can't, especially for our friends that don't live, with us, we can't reconnect with them in the ways that maybe we want to physically. We want to be closer to them. We want to be near them. And we can't do that right now because of social distancing. I get that. And we have family that we can't be close to because of social distancing. My in-laws, my parents, they're, within a half an hour away, short drive. My parents are like 9 minutes away. We can't go over there and reconnect because of what's going on. We don't want, if we have it, we don't want to give it to them. If they have it, we don't want them to give it to us, and vice versa. So, but reconnect in the ways that you can. And we have a lot of ways available to us. So reconnect. Reconnect in your marriage. Reconnect in your family. Reconnect with your friends. Reconnect with who you are. I'm not a big journaling person. I've said that several times between the podcast and the videos and stuff like that. I'm not a big journaling person. But if you have ideas, write them down. Reconnect with your ideas. Reconnect with your mission. Reconnect with who you are. Maybe you've put something off. You've put off a dream or something like that because you just didn't have time, right? You got busy with work and, life came up. Maybe you were working on education or something like that and you just put it aside. Reconnect with those visions, with that mission. Reconnect. And with all of that, be renewed, be relieved. Have that rest and renewal and recover. Even if it's for a short amount of time between shifts. And like I said, I know some of you nurses and physicians and medics and EMTs and firefighters and law enforcement officers and National Guard. Some of you guys, some of you ladies and gentlemen you're hard at it. And you don't have that much downtime. And I get that. But when you do have that downtime, do these things. Do these things so that you can keep running the race that we do not yet have a finish line to. We know there is one. We know there's a finish line. We just don't know how far out it is. We don't know if it's in a month. We don't know if it's in 6 months. And if you don't do these things, the ability to endure what is going on right now will be blunted. You will fall short. Your energy will not be there. You will not be able to finish the race. Finish this race by doing these things. I hope you are doing well. Stay healthy. Be savvy. Be a motivated individual. And with motivation, you need to be disciplined. You cannot be truly motivated without discipline. If you can try to have some motivation, which will potentially get you to where you're starting to do some things that are disciplined. But in order to have, some consistent motivation to get the things done that you've set out to do, you've got to have discipline. And that discipline will equal freedom, as Jocko has talked about and written about. Discipline equals freedom. So stay safe, be savvy, be a motivated medic, a motivated physician, a motivated nurse, a motivated truck driver. You truck drivers you're getting us our groceries, even our toilet paper that's still out at a lot of places. There's a lot of people that are coming together because of who we are. We're America, and this is how we do things. We get the job done. So get it done. Be a community. Until next time, this is the Motivated Medic, signing out. The following has been a Motivated Medic production. For more information, look up Motivated Medic on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or go to motivatedmedic.com.